up until 1920s, science thought the whole universe was the Milky Way. They thought that the Milky Way was the universe. And this is a picture of a galaxy. It's not ours. It's, I think it has like 1 trillion stars. It's it's bigger than ours, but that's a galaxy. But up until in the 20s, science thought our galaxy was the universe. And a guy named Edwin Hubble, sounds like a familiar name, he was the first person to figure out there's more than our galaxy. Things that we see are not in our galaxy. So he saw multiple galaxies, not this clearly because the telescope that bears his name wasn't up there. But then, and this you can't see at all, but this was a picture of Hubble deep field, and many of you have seen this. This is a single photograph of the sky, and it has great resolution, and scientists can count 10,000 galaxies in one photograph. 10,000 galaxies in one photograph. And they said this photograph covers 1/10 of 1/1,000,000th of the sky. So, our universe is bigger than what Paul ever imagined, right? And by the latest estimate, I remember when I was a kid, they talked about 6 billion galaxies. Well, that was cool. For every person in the world, there's a galaxy. Well, now there's lots. But anyway, so this is limitless detail as we look in and we step back. It's limitless expanse. And it's just obvious. And I think of, God, it says the heavens display, God's wonders and all the things. And I think, like there's some artists in here and there's some people who play the piano. And if you want to show people what you're made of, you don't put on a recital and twinkle, twinkle, little star, right? You're going to put on a recital and you're going to show your best because you want to show this is what I'm capable of. Well, God created the universe and he wants to show us something about himself. And so he's made this universe with incredible, minute detail to unimaginable, hugeness. And this is our God. So the question would be, if back 2,000 years ago people say, hey, it's obvious, you just look at it, it's obvious, without excuse, God made all these things. Why are we having such a hard time, seeing that today? Seems like we ought to, a lot more obvious than it used to be. Okay, the Bible talks about this thing too. It says in Peter, this is 2 Peter, and we talked about this before. This is Peter's, last words, so he's trying to say, here's one more thing really important. He's saying, above all, you must understand that in the last days, scoffers will come, scoffing and following their own evil desires. They will say, where is this coming, he promised? Ever since our ancestors died, everything goes on the same as it has since the beginning of creation. Well, here they're even saying creation. That wouldn't happen now. But they deliberately forget. Here's why. They deliberately forget that long ago, by God's word, the heavens came into being and the earth was formed out of water and by water. So the first point that I see is because God created all things, it's obvious that he did. I mean, it's just obvious that he did. So why the problem? Because mankind needs to deliberately debunk creation to justify following our own evil desires. And this follows the pattern of Satan in heaven. Mankind does not want to be under God's authority. As soon as there's some indication that this all just didn't happen, you have to acknowledge God. And there's a lot of ramifications for that. So this is kind of the root. This is the whole thing that's going on, is man wants to be top dog.